started off with, I had an interview with one of my high school friends, and it did really well on YouTube so far. And I thought maybe I'd do some interviews with some of my other friends that are artists.
Great.
And you were one of the most, highly decorated one of my friends.
Thanks.
So this guy's Juno nominated. He's got great business, self-made business. He DJs, he dances, he produces music. Anything else that you do?
Parent
of two kids. And that's a lot of stuff to be doing. Like, how do you manage with that?
Well, I mean,
I know Sarah helps out a lot, but
totally, yeah. And I mean, since very young, I've always been very driven to do a lot of stuff. I just feel like, growing up, I had asthma. I came close to dying a few times, and I think I just realized really early that, mortality is, a reality. And so I've always just been really keen to just do as much stuff as I possibly could. So I was always really interested in productivity and time management. And so over the years, I've incorporated, I've read every book on time management I could ever, get my hands on. And the main one that I refer to for my time management is Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay. And there's a chapter on time management in there, and it's basically putting first things first. And so there's this productivity quadrant of urgency and importance. And so a lot of times we get drawn into things that are not important, but they're urgent. And so really it's about shifting into being able to do things that are very important, but not necessarily urgent. Right? So things like self-improvement, deep reading, and then obviously all the things during the day that are important and urgent, they have to come first. But I'm always trying to think like that, trying to shift my time from the immediate into doing things that are long-term. So producing records, practicing music, physical training, all the stuff that usually we'll be like, oh, I'll do that later when I have time. But if you keep doing that, you never have time to actually do it.
So how do you decide what's a priority and what's not a priority?
Well, I have some pretty set goals and a mission statement for myself in my life. And so I often will review it, every day I'll look at it. And it's something that I've done for so many years. I've been doing this for 25 years in terms of applying this technique. My dad gave me the book in high school and I read it, and it was okay, but then I read it again when I was in my early 20s. And I'm 45 now, so it's been almost 25 years of me doing this. After a while it becomes a habit, but at first you definitely have to consciously make a mission statement for yourself, where you want to be in your life, how do you want to live your life. It's a short ride, and you got to have some goals. If you, Tony Robbins says, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So, it's you gotta really put it out there. You gotta have a clear statement, clear mission, and it can shift with time. It can shift every day. Usually every year, I'll really spend some time, on New Year's Day, I'll really spend some time kind of reviewing my goals. And so
see what's good and what's not.
Stuff changes. Having kids is a game changer. A lot of things shift.
Notice that a lot of the descriptions have Rise Ashen on some of the songs that I've been using. So I want to know, because I've listened to a lot of your songs, I know that there's more of an organic sound to the sound. Where did you find that sound, and why did you choose to
So for me, growing up, when I was about 7 years old, my mother put me in lessons with a guy called Jeffrey May, who is one of the most influential people in my life. He is a jazzman in Montreal. He still plays a lot, and he's an incredible jazz musician. Plays wooden flutes, he plays congas, he plays piano, plays guitars, saxophone as well, and he taught me a lot of those instruments. For about 4 years, I was with him, every week, and he was a real foundational person. He really taught me how to play, and the music that he taught, there's a lot of different styles of teaching. There's the very kind of classical approach, but he's really the street approach, much like in dance, and so very much influenced from the African diaspora, specifically Black American music, and it's groove-based music as opposed to written out music that's from a very classical, playing all the notes correctly. It's very much about the feeling and the grooves in the music, which is a radically different approach from European music, right? You play a lot of different
different from different world type of music.
Yeah,
and
sure.
you've explored into Aboriginal music. So is there a frontier that you
Yeah,
still...
so basically, like, this music that I fell in love with at a very young age, African music essentially, is traditional music that has a long history and a culture behind it. And so that's the thing that's always fascinated me, is the blend of that with the technology that I learned how to handle and work with. And so to me, the sound that really excites me is when it's ancestral music that has a rich history to it, but then it also has the technological, like the electronic grooves I really love. And so it's the combining of the two, and that's what's like going all the way back when I first heard hip hop, like in the 80s. It was that mix, you know, like they're taking old records and blending them with drum machines, and it's that clash of the two sounds. So for me, it always has both. Like, I mean, there are rare compositions that I've made where it's strictly electronic or strictly acoustic as well. But to me, the really exciting sound is when it's a combination of both. And then the Indigenous music was just another extension of that, through meeting some Indigenous artists here in Ottawa. Growing up, I had no idea about Indigenous music, and I think a lot of Canadians growing up, we weren't exposed to the Indigenous cultures, the local cultures. It was basically, they were almost annihilated by the European system and colonization. And so I think now there's a real renaissance going on, and I was blessed to meet a few Indigenous artists, and they really took me in, and you know, they could feel my intent with the music, I think, and my intent is to just collaborate and to create beautiful music together and kind of cross some divides that are there that I don't think should be there. And so breaking down barriers through the music is like a whole other dimension that I'm really happy to be a part of. But I actually fell in love with Indigenous music, you know, Southern Indigenous music, as well as I'm playing with two Inuit throat singers, and the band is called Silla+Rise, if you want to check it out. So.
And you'll see some of that in the video that I did with your CD. Open.
Yeah, the launch. That's right. That was a great little video.
That's
You're
right.
good, man. You got good skills.
We're gonna ask you if you have ever been starstruck with one of the people that you've been collaborating with.
Dude, I'm starstruck all the time with the people I'm collaborating with, and I think like the further I go into the music, every man you meet is better than you in some way, and in that way I shall learn from him. And so it's like everyone you meet has something to teach you, right? And with music, it's the same thing. Like, it's such a personal, intimate journey for a musician to learn to express themselves through sound. And so the way that they're doing it, nobody else on the planet is going to do it the way that one person's doing it, right? So when you collaborate with someone, it's the most wonderful thing. And it's just like having a teacher, it's like having a guru and having a friend and a collaborator, and you know, an intimate relationship where you're putting your energy together into creating something together. It's wonderful. It's like I'm so hooked on collaborating. I love it, you know.
And you do it with dance as well.
Dance is the same thing, right? Like when you're exchanging on the dance floor, people are moving and they're transmitting these messages of movement, and it's almost like this spirit that's coming through them, and then we exchange and we learn from each other. And you know, Brian and I have been dancing together for 15 years.
15 years, oh my god.
So, you know,
that's true.
That's a long time, bro.
It has been true.
You know, and it's been like often, like every week we'll dance together. So you know, it's amazing, man, like the friendship that we've built from that.
Right.
And it's a dimension that you don't necessarily get to with people who are not artists, you know, like to be able to exchange as artists is a beautiful thing. So,
With that, it's done. Thank you, everybody.